On Friday, Germany's domestic intelligence agency officially labeled Alternative for Germany, the country's most popular conservative party, as a right-wing extremist organization. The Nationalist Party surged to second place in February's federal election, winning 20.8% of the vote. This new designation grants the ruling government expanded powers to surveil Alternative for Germany leaders and supporters and sets the stage for an outright ban. Germany has joined a growing list of Western governments that delay elections, disqualify candidates, and ban opposition parties, all in the name of defending democracy. To call Germany's relationship with authoritarianism complicated understates the case. The country's historical memory fixates on Nazism as the ultimate expression of right-wing extremism and mass atrocity. But that singular focus conveniently ignores the fact that the Soviet Union, which helped defeat the Third Reich, imposed its own brutal regime across East Germany until the Berlin Wall fell. Modern Germany has seen tyranny from both the far right and far left, yet its national identity now orbits entirely around a rejection of right-wing politics. Anti-fascism has become something like a state religion. But when a country builds its identity on shame and self-repudiation, it risks cultural collapse. We've seen the same pathology infect America, where elite institutions push a national narrative defined entirely by slavery and racial guilt. Every nation has dark chapters. A mature society learns from them. It doesn't define itself by them forever. While German history explains some of its deep aversion to nationalism, the trend of suppressing populist movements in the name of democracy has spread far beyond Berlin. Brazil's Supreme Court banned former President Jair Bolsonaro from seeking office until 2030. Romania's Constitutional Court voided its 2024 election, citing supposed Russian influence in the rise of populist candidate Colin Georgescu. In the United States, courts came dangerously close to removing Donald Trump from the ballot, while the president now fights legal battles over whether he can exercise his basic executive powers under Article 2 of the Constitution. This isn't democracy defending itself, it's ruling elites trying to outlaw their opposition. Western elites justify their dominance by invoking democracy and individual liberty. That wasn't always the case. The West once called itself Christendom, a civilizational identity grounded in faith, tradition, and truth, but it abandoned that foundation in favor of secular platitudes. The United States has waged entire wars in the name of exporting democracy to places like Iraq and Afghanistan, nations that never wanted it and were never going to keep it. These projects were doomed from the start, yet at least they were wrapping American power in something like the language of benevolence. Today, even that fig leaf has disappeared. The modern West treats democracy as a branding exercise, not a principle. Leaders like Joe Biden, Justin Trudeau, and Keir Starmer love lecturing the world about liberal norms, even as they jail political dissidents, censor speech, and turn domestic intelligence services against their own citizens. They condemn Vladimir Putin's authoritarianism while staying silent as NATO allies crush dissent at home. Democracy has become a marketing slogan, useful for justifying war and globalist expansion, but disposable when it interferes with the ruling class's priorities. Hey guys, if you've been watching this show for a while, then you know that around here we encourage something that conservatives usually don't do. Winning. That's why it was so great to see Donald Trump's electoral victory along with the cultural and political momentum that the right just hasn't had in a very long time. But we also know that the fight is far from over, and at some point the left will start pushing for censorship again. If you like what I'm doing here and you want to keep it going, then head over to Blaze TV. They have the behind-the-scenes content, exclusives, and documentaries that you're just not going to see anywhere else. And it starts at just $8 a month, basically the price of a fancy coffee, when you use the promo code Auron at checkout. That's only 26 cents a day to stand with a platform that stands with you. So go to blazetv.com/Auron and subscribe today. That's blazetv.com/Auron. The promo code is AURON, and you'll save $20 right now off the annual plan. Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio both slammed the German government for labeling Alternative for Germany as extremist. On social media, Rubio went even further, blaming Germany's open border policy for the rise of Alternative for Germany and calling the state's surveillance powers tyranny in disguise. Germany's Foreign Office issued a formal reply, insisting that the decision stemmed from an independent and thorough investigation. That claim is absurd on its face. No government can independently investigate and condemn its most prominent political opposition, especially when that accusation is extremism, a term that now means little more than holding views the ruling class finds inconvenient. I've made no secret of my dislike of modern mass democracy, but the original concept at least had some merit. Democracy once meant rule by the demos, the people of a particular nation, rooted in a shared history, culture, and civic identity. Its legitimacy came not from procedure or process, but from the bonds between citizens and their country. Today's ruling class has twisted the definition beyond recognition. As I've written before, globalist elites use the word democracy to describe a system governed by unaccountable institutions that they alone control. Populism, they say, is dangerous. Democracy, they insist, must be preserved. But in practice, they oppose the popular will and protect only the process that they have captured. Elections have become sacraments, rituals that legitimize the rule of bureaucracies, not expressions of the people's will. The process is sacred, not the outcome. That's why Western politicians now speak of our sacred democracy, which must be defended not from tyranny, but from the actual democratic movements. Western leaders still try to justify their global power by invoking freedom and liberty, but their credibility has collapsed. It's farcical to hear men like Justin Trudeau or Keir Starmer preach about shared Western values while jailing political opponents and silencing dissidents at home. The moral authority of liberal democracy is crumbling, and the cause isn't Putin or China. It's Western leaders who have gutted the electoral process and replaced it with rule by managerial elites. The Trump administration should continue to expose this hypocrisy, but it should also take meaningful action. That means offering political asylum to dissidents facing persecution in places like Germany, Canada, and the United Kingdom. Americans rightly recoil at repression in Russia. They should feel the same revulsion when it comes from our allies in places like Berlin, Ottawa, or London. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, now is a great time to click that like button, and if you haven't subscribed yet, it's a great time to do so. If you'd like to get these broadcasts as podcasts, make sure to subscribe to the Auron MacIntyre Show on your favorite podcast platform, and when you do, leave a rating or a review. It helps with the algorithm magic. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter or Gab or Instagram, if you'd like to watch these videos on Rumble or Odyssey, the links to do all of that are down below in the description. Don't forget, you can pick up my book, The Total State, at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, or your local bookstore. And of course, if you would like to support the show, you can head to shopblazemedia.com, click on the Auron MacIntyre collection, and pick up some merch. You can read all of my articles and watch all of my shows over at The Blaze. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll talk to you next time.